And I wanted to boldly make the statement of 5 steps to transform your business. And it's so true because we're all looking for that 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 nuggets, 5 something, to just transform our business. How do we go about our business? How do we go about making our business better and making ourselves in turn better with that? So what I plan to do here is go through these 5, and then hopefully we'll have time to get through these, but we'll get started one at a time. So the first thing you really need to do to be able to transform your business is to face the brutal facts. If you've read the book Good to Great, that's something that really, in the very beginning, it's talked about, is facing the brutal facts. What happens many times in my experience with business and with business owners and with people is they get into a business of what they do, but oh, by the way, they forget they have to manage this thing, this business, this is what it is. And oh my gosh, I got these people that have like emotions and feelings and problems and all this other stuff. And you tend to neglect some of that. You tend to pay attention to maybe what you do, maybe what you know, or maybe pay too much attention to your customers, not enough attention to your people. Maybe do a lot of those different things that take you away from understanding what the brutal facts are as to what you want to do, where your weaknesses are. If anybody has ever conducted a serious SWOT survey, a SWOT being strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, is very revealing. But as I tell people, I ask my kids, if I were to ask them who's the best father they've ever known, they'll say it's me because that's all they know. So when you go to sit down and do a SWOT survey, you can't really depend on just a couple of your close key friends or your key employees or your key presidents or vice presidents. I really encourage you to, if you've got a company I work with and work for, they've all been about mid-range, 100 people, maybe 150 people. And there's an upper tier of management, there's a middle tier, there's a third tier, and then there's, the rest of the minions, us minions, I guess. I would challenge you to have several people from different various groups, and more importantly, various age groups. Make sure there's somebody who's got an age where the number starts with a 2 in there. And make it a safe place, make it a good place to open up, share ideas, talk about what the real strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are. Because if you can't do that, you can't do anything. You really are wasting your time and wasting the people's time that work for you that is so very valuable that you're trying to improve with. Number 2 is commit to change. Everybody loves to change, right? They love to change. The ones that say, oh, I enjoy change. I welcome change. Well, okay. Maybe they welcome change driving a different way to work. Maybe they welcome change, going to a different restaurant than they normally do. The brutal facts about change is, at some psychological level, you have to admit what you've been doing is wrong. To some scale, to some percentage, to some extent. When you say, well, we got to change this because we want to get better, and you're focusing on that positive side of the change, but when someone starts to bring up a couple of things that maybe were in that blind spot of yours, you didn't see it, and all of a sudden someone says, we're really weak in this area, and you kind of take it personally, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I've been wrong in this. I need to now change. Admitting to change means being okay with admitting to being wrong. And for many people, that might be a little tough to do because, I don't know about you, rarely am I ever wrong. And just, well, okay, never mind. I can't even get away with that. But we all think we know all the answers. We all think we have all the solutions and we've got the ideas. I kind of try to look at them as suggestions. I've got some suggestions. I think we should do this way, this way, this way, this way. Having people that you trust, that trust you, and you know that they want to do well for you, you want to bring them in that room to be able to face the brutal facts and to talk about those things. And to be able to see that, yes, I do want to change. And yes, we do need to change the business and change the company and change the direction, change maybe the organization. Maybe there's some philosophical things we need to change. Maybe there's some structural management issues we need I don't know that anybody's in fear of changing. I think they're in fear of what might happen if they change. You know, you've heard the devil's in the details. The devil is also easier to embrace when you know the devil you have. Change means, oh, there might be an added thing to this, but then there might be another devil out there that I have to deal with in some way, shape, or form. So we get real comfortable and complacent with change. This one I could talk a long time because I have another one that I want to talk about, which is called, you should manage, right? You should take some time to plan to put yourself out of business. Because that's exactly what your competition is doing. And if you get one up on them, that's even better. Okay, so number 3. You must be virtuous with your goals. Do the right thing. You have to have the strength, the fortitude to do what's right. And for many of us, that might be different than the other. Doing what's right. So I've had conversations with a very good friend, and he's very challenging because we start talking about this and the virtues of being a business owner. Some of you are business owners, some of you are not. And so he asked the question, how much more should the owner of a company make than the lowest paid employee? I don't know. I mean, I just simply didn't know. Now, should there be a percentage? Should it be a maximum? Should it be a minimum? Is it fair? Is it not fair? I mean, I don't know. When you've got people that are kind of struggling, that are working for you for, not much, are you prayerfully considering what it is you're making, or not you're making, but the top line executive making versus the lowest paid employee making? I don't have an answer, but that's a great question to ask. And that's a great question to sort of ponder and to pray over, really. I mean, what is that disparity? If there is a major disparity, I cannot remember, and yesterday I said I'm going to look this up because I spoke about this at another time. But there was a CEO in one of the .com West Coast California companies that said that the lowest paid employee will not make less than 20 times what I make. Period, end story. So he's got a decision. Does he lower his income or does he raise everybody else up? Because right now it's like 1,000, I think he said. He said, I've been given this gift, this ability to make this money, hire these people, and it's all for me. That is a pretty strong statement with the commitment to being virtuous. Okay? So that's kind of all part and parcel. The 4th is being patient. I've set so many goals, I can't even begin to tell you how many goals I've set. And I have been patient with them for count the hours. It's not coming fast enough, it's not coming good enough, it's not coming strong enough, it's too long, it's too hard. I'm not able to reap the benefits in 30 minutes or in 30 days. But you have to be patient because you've already done the right steps. You've already gone through the steps that properly allow you to do what you think is right or do what you feel is right. Because a lot of this stuff, the brutal facts are the brutal facts. But some of these other things are somewhat, I hate to use the word emotional, but they are. And the reason I think these are so important is because we do business with our employees and their people. And the facts are the facts are the facts, but some of the most important things to people that work for you or you work with, you can't measure, and you won't measure. And they're important to them. So that's why these are so important. But to have the patience that what you're doing is right, and it's the right thing to do, is also very, very important to be able to do that. So be patient. And the last one of the 5 steps is don't waver. Don't waver with what you're doing. See it through to the end. Whatever that end is. You have a goal, you have an ambition, you have a dream with your company, with what you're doing, with any company. You have input to be able to do that. Being able to help out with what that plan is. Being able to see and plan to some sort of conclusion. Not so much the end, but we all have that plan of where we're going to go and how we're going to get there. I wonder how many of us, and I've been part of these strategic planning meetings, where we want to plan to grow, but we don't know what the end looks like. My background, my business, the way in the professional world, I was raised I still work in the construction business, which means we do things twice. And we always think and have the end goal first, and then we back way up over here, then we start planning for it. So we design a building, we build a building, we engineer a building on paper and on computers. And so we know about what it's going to look like. So we have that goal, that plan in mind. Then we bring the entire team back over here and we say, all right, that's what we're going to work towards. So everybody put the specs together, let's put the drawings together, let's put the materials together, let's hire the right contractors, let's hire the right subcontractors, manage it properly, and go to that end goal. So being able to have the strength, the persistence to finally go through it and work through all this, it's important because I've been a part of these teams where we got a plan together, we like the plan, let's go execute the plan. And in the construction business, it's amazing because I say this constantly. Day turns into a week turns into a month turns into a year. You wake up a year later, it's like, oh my gosh, what happened to we set some goals, didn't we put a mission statement together, and didn't we put together some guiding thoughts and so forth? And it's amazing how day by day things don't change. A day turns into a week turns into a month turns into a year. You look back and say, okay, time to get back on course. Time to get right here where we should be. Now, as a good Catholic that I try to be, I must confess something. Okay, this is pretty plagiarized. Okay, and I'll tell you where I plagiarized it from. Many years ago, I was kind of introduced to the Rosary and have been praying for a little over 12 years. And this summer, I started praying this, and I thought, there might be something here, God. You might have something, and I'm just going to, see if it works for you, and maybe it'll work here. Well, let's kind of think this through. And we all know the sorrowful mysteries, right? I cover them up just so you guys can kind of look at it. So, A, the garden, okay? True repentance for my sins is a spiritual fruit. Now, for me, being the pictorial, visual person that I am, this doesn't mean a lot to me. I mean, it does, but I don't get it. I'll never make the connection to me. But when I read and see about that spiritual fruit and what it means, being able to truly face where my blind spots are, where my weaknesses are, what I need to work on, what I need to do, where am I sinful, where can I improve, how do I do that? It's being able to face a brutal facts with your business. There's not much of a difference here if you go across and really, at a deep level, think it through. The second mystery, scourging at the pillar. This is a tough one because the flocking process that has to happen if we're going to commit to change, it will happen. You will be scourged. Any of us, I'm just as guilty as anyone. Man, it's hard to see I'm wrong and admit I'm wrong, especially when it's your family showing, telling, demonstrating just how wrong you are. But that's okay. I find that as love that I get back from that. They want me to be better for that. But it's the ego that doesn't allow us to change. And the spiritual fruit of that is spiritual mortification. Mortification meaning to change. When we feel pain, in our life, for me, it means you better change something, dude. There's somewhere you're not congruent with personal, business, professional, spiritual. Scourging in the pillar is the ability to change and the ability to move into another direction, into something else, as opposed to doing the same thing we've been doing. And trust me, like I know. I saw the movie. Scourging doesn't look like a whole lot of fun. Okay, it looks pretty brutal. Third soft mystery is crowning with thorns. I think of Jesus, he just got his tail ripped. And now he's going to get made fun of for doing the right thing. He's going to get put on a crown of thorns for being the king of the Jews. And now he's got to basically show that courage, that no, this is right. Everyone else is wrong. This is the right thing to do. And that's why I go through, have virtuous goals. You can't be great. You can't transform yourself. You can't transform your business. You can't transform anything right and rightly unless you have the courage to put goals out there that are virtuous, goals that you know are the right goals, and goals that for the company, for yourself, that you want to do, that you can help the other people around you. The fourth sophomore mystery is carrying the cross. Spiritual fruit of this is patience. I have no idea what that means. But, you know, we've heard, pick up your cross, carry it, follow me. And that's great. Do you have the patience to see this through? I mean, irrespective of your business, yourself, personally, professionally, spiritually, it's a tough road. I mean, this thing called life is not easy. And so, in our business, it's having the courage to be patient that you've done everything that you know is right. You've done all your homework. You know, you had people tell you what changes need to be made, irrespective of whether you like it or not. You were able to face and come up and talk about and embrace the brutal facts of exactly what they are and where we need to improve. And now you've got to have the patience to be able to stay with the direction that you're going. Be able to know in your heart, when you pray, God is telling you, it's okay, just chill. Don't be impatient. It's all right. Of course, the last one is the crucifixion. And the spiritual fruit of this is perseverance, the strength to see it through. Be able to know that, you know, you've done all of this work already. You've had the help. You've been open enough to hear and listen. And now you're going to persevere. You're going to do what's right. The beauty of the guy that I plagiarized this from, I'm pretty sure he's okay with stealing the ideas from this. Because I thought about this whole thing quite a bit. And like I said, I'm so just barely hitting these things. But it hit me yesterday that, you know, this is the passion on this side. You know, this is not the passion on this side, but is it not? I mean, to some level, a company to be great, they really almost have to die to self. And I thought about that more on a little bit deeper level. As a company, as an owner, or as a manager, or as someone who instructs and helps people, you really have to die to ego, to maybe being wrong to some extent, and say, you know, I mean, I have this expression, it's called palms up, you know, I don't know, you know, I'm open. Help me with the brutal facts and help me to change this, or help us to change this. What's going wrong? Where's that pain? Yes, we need to change. How do we do this? And so there is a passion, I guess, process that almost has to happen. If we're going to grow, if we want to be great, I mean, good is okay, but imagine being great. You know, then you can know you've gone through this process and know that you know, you've done everything that you can spiritually, professionally, in your business, you know, and in yourself. The other thing I thought of was, as leaders in a business, in your business, in whatever business you're in, you know, the die to self thing is one thing. But then you're the head, okay? As Christ is the head of the church. As men, we're the head of the household. As managers and business people, we have to be head of the business, of the company. We've got a huge responsibility. Huge. I've never had an employee working for me in a business I own. That has got to be one of the most pressurize, I think, responsibilities. Because for me, I would take it, and I'm sure everybody that does, and I know a couple of you have people that, work for you. That is a very strong and serious obligation, because you're basically in charge, to some extent, of their lives, of their livelihood, of their well-being, of their dreams, their aspirations, and so forth. So, dying to ego and dying to self as the head of that company, that business, that's so counterintuitive. To be able to say, I'm here for you, or, I want to work for you, I want to be subservient to some extent to you. That's got to be hard. That very much has got to be hard. I honestly can say, I really want to break this down in other sessions. 30 minutes is just way too short.